Notting Hill Genesis are proud members of the Social Value Leadership Group. The SVLG now has over 50 member organisations consisting of housing associations, local authorities and other public sector organisations. We meet on a quarterly basis to discuss and deliver innovation excellence in social value, ensuring legacy delivery of projects in the communities we work in.
Hello and welcome to Notting Hill Genesis's Social Value Leadership Group session on sustainability and biodiversity. Sustainability and biodiversity aren't just environmental buzzwords, they're essential to creating thriving communities. At Notting Hill Genesis, we believe that housing development should do more than provide homes. They should enhance the health and well-being of residents. Integrating biodiversity into our estates creates more pleasant living environments and delivers vital ecosystem services. It improves air and water quality, helps mitigate climate change through natural flood management, and even supports mental health by connecting people with nature. Today, we're going to explore how social value and sustainability go hand in hand and why these principles matter for our communities, our contractors, and our future. We'll hear from NHG colleagues and partners about the projects making a real difference, from green initiatives to biodiversity focus improvements, and discuss how these efforts strengthen communities and create lasting impact. I'm George Clark, the Head of Communities and Commercial Properties at Notting Hill Genesis, and I'll be chairing today's discussion. We're joined by an excellent panel representing Notting Hill Genesis and our partners who help us deliver meaningful impact on the ground. Joining me today are Jason Bloy, Grounds Maintenance Director from Ginkgo Landscapes, Adam Gordon, Social Value Manager from Just Ask, Rosie Edwards, our own Social Value Officer, Rajvinder Uppal, our Communities and Social Value Manager, Harry Bryant, Estates Operations Manager, Thomas Coleman, Head of Estate Services, and David Errington, our Landscape Services Manager. So, social value isn't just a concept, it's about creating real benefits for residents and communities. Sustainability and biodiversity are central to that mission. Let's dive into how we're making this happen. If I could start with you, Rosie, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about how NHG works with contractors to deliver social value, not just in biodiversity, but if you could give us an overview overall.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, George. So I'm Rosie, I'm NHG Social Value Officer, and my role in NHG is to try and deliver meaningful social value projects to benefit our residents at NHG and work within our supply chain to ask for their get their expertise, use their resources to deliver these projects. And obviously we're talking today about biodiversity and sustainability. So largely a lot of the projects that we do through social value are transforming green spaces. We do some amazing bulb planting projects. By the end of the year, we will have planted around 15,000 bulbs. In terms of collaborating with our contractors and getting social value projects to be really meaningful, we ask residents to get involved, and they're resident-led. So a lot of these greening projects will come through from keen resident gardeners or areas where residents just feel that they want their green spaces to be significantly improved, to provide opportunity for residents to come together as community. If it's taking part in vegetable growing, if it's coming together to take part in bulb planting, or even putting in their own sort of tree. So, and I just want to as well discuss, obviously we are talking to our grounds maintenance contractors today, and it's incredible to get their expertise and knowledge through contractors, but I just want to also make it clear that it's not just social value, these greening projects that come through from our grounds maintenance. We have really rewarding projects coming through from all sorts of contractors across the business. We've had a really great tree planting project from seeds that helped inspire children to grow their own tomatoes from seed, and that was done through our Benson. We're also having a big bulb planting day through our electrical contractors. So just wanted to obviously make it clear that it's a really great opportunity for all contractors to support in this social value projects.
Great, thanks, Rosie. You mentioned a little bit there about how what impact it has on residents, and I was wondering, Harry, if you could talk at all about any projects you've been involved with and what impact that's had for residents on the schemes.
So I'm the estate operations manager for Zenith Close. We're a multi-tenure estate of 308 flats and 2 commercial units in northwest London. We recently had our own social value project where, alongside one of our contractors, we delivered plants and bulbs across the site. This is an ongoing project where we've restored the quality of the soil, and we're now building upon that. And in the time that I've been there, I've seen the ripple effects of that, both with biodiversity and also with other estate management aspects, from a reduction in bulky waste to a reduction in antisocial behaviour, and seeing in real time residents take pride in where they live, and we're fulfilling our end of the bargain by making their house a home.
Can I just add to what Harry's saying there about the importance of it? Because when we're looking at what social value brings as an additionality to the sustainability agenda, the first phase of that was delivered by Just Arc through the grounds maintenance contract itself. If we didn't have social value and our contractors like Ginkgo and Just Arc's committed to deliver social value, the phase that Harry's just spoke about in terms of growing that green space across other parts of the estate just simply couldn't happen, because often we don't have enough resourcing to create the impact we want across all of our estates in that meaningful way. Social value helps us bridge that gap between what our aspiration is and how much of that aspiration can be delivered.
Great, thanks, Raj. And that brings on nicely. I wanted to go over to Jason now and just ask him from the contractor's perspective, why is social value so important to an organisation like Ginkgo?
Well, I mean, firstly, at Ginkgo, social value is important to us because it just goes beyond the maintaining of the landscapes. It's about helping people feel proud of where they live, improving green space, or running a gardening session that may seem a small thing, but it can generally change how residents experience within their community. Social value projects let us build upon kind of a real relationship with the users, and for that matter, the visitors as well, who use the spaces that we care for. They also kind of help us listen as well. You know, we're there on a daily, weekly, whatever the basis may be, and as much as we try to treat it like our own garden, we don't actually live there. So it helps us listen and understand the local needs, and furthermore create environments that support the well-being and the connection and a sense of belonging for the residents there as well. And they also offer incredible rewarding for our teams as well. You know, seeing residents get involved, pick up new skills, or simply enjoy the space that we've helped transform reminds of why our work matters. It adds a purpose to what we do as well, you know, and ensures we have a positive and lasting impact, not just the neatly finished job, as it were. You know, that's why it's important to us. Yeah,
makes complete sense. And Jason, if I could stick with you for a minute, I was also going to ask, you know, what benefits have you seen from delivering these social value projects when working with us and perhaps other clients that you have?
Well, again, you know, it's really connecting with the residents there. You know, more often than not, we're tied into a contract, as someone has turned around as well, and delivering core tasks which would be there to maintain the grounds maintenance, you know, in the way that we know is right to do for that estate as well. So it really gives us an opportunity to connect with the residents on a more personal level, and not just as contractors, you know. And when we for example, we run the gardening sessions to help improve the community, we see people getting excited about their environment again, you know, and it builds a trust, strengthens our relationship there as well, gives not only our team a sense of ownership, but the people that we see for there, and it also helps us understand what matters to the residents, and by which means we can deliver a better work all round as well, you know. And not only that, it's just the benefit that that goes around for the whole of the state as well, not just for the people that can turn up for these events and that. It's for the whole community there. So ultimately, some people can come onto the estate, and people that live on the estate haven't really noticed things, but can actually see different changes through the social value projects we do.
I think a real benefit of getting the biodiversity and the planting and gardening right is instilling a degree of pride in the place for our residents. And I wondered if we could come now to Tom, and I wondered, looking ahead, how do you see social value contributing to NHG's future sustainability plans?
Yeah, of course. So basically, social value obviously supports through a whole variety of factors. Enhancing green spaces and biodiversity benefits customers and wildlife. It encourages the contractors, Notting Hill Genesis, and the customers to all collaborate to improve our spaces. The sustainability strategy, for example, commits to creating inclusive, welcoming green spaces so that social value initiatives such as like planting schemes that we discussed, planting trees and pollinator-friendly plants. It helps to increase species diversity and habitat quality, supports wildlife and ecosystem resilience, and also helps to deliver measurable biodiversity improvements. So social value, it helps support like resident engagement and creates like community ownership. So the sustainability strategy emphasizes like a resident-led management and transformation of our local environments. So activities like community planting days or bulb planting projects helps to develop local care of green spaces, encourages sustainable behaviours and awareness amongst residents, and also helps to strengthen social cohesion. Social value initiatives targeted towards like planting schemes can help like climate resilience and also has like carbon benefits. So like planting vegetation can help to mitigate against like the urban heat island effects, which is where like cities, for example, are notably hotter than like the surrounding rural areas. If you have like a range of trees and shrubs, it helps to improve climate resilience and also to reduce like flood risk and enhance air quality.
Thanks so much, Tom. And David, I wondered as well if you could tell us a bit about why sustainability and biodiversity matter specifically to Notting Hill Genesis.
So for Notting Hill Genesis, our communal gardens and green spaces, they play an essential role in a wide range of biodiversities, from birds to insects to fungi. So NHG are trying to commit to restoring and enhancing these spaces so they benefit our residents and also nature. This will provide a welcoming area for people and residents to and their wildlife to enjoy and thrive. And then by helping to boost biodiversity, this also helps the well-being of our urban environments. Essentially, this helps the ecosystem, improving resident health and enhancing quality of life for city residents. Urban biodiversity contributes to several factors that make urban environments more livable and sustainable. These areas work silently in the background, cleaning air, managing excessive rainwater, moderating temperatures, and creating spaces for human connections with nature. We'll always try to create succession planting. So when one finishes flowering, another one starts, because it's not just bees that are pollinators. There's also lots of different insects that require things at different times of the years.
Great, thank you so much, David. That's really interesting. I mean, I think trees are an asset, you know, they're part of the infrastructure of the place, and they need to be looked after. So it's great to hear.
It's a huge part, and it's got such a great value. We should be protecting and maintaining the tree canopy across all of our sites.
Great. I wondered, coming back to you, Harry, what changes have you seen on estates where you've worked on, like Zenith, for example, with after the social value projects that have been completed, or even during the projects?
My role is site-based, so I get to see these positive impacts in real time, which is really rewarding. A recent example was I met a resident I had never seen before, and I spoke to them in our communal courtyard, which now has a visual appeal thanks to social value. And they explained to me they work from home full time and they always ate their lunch at home. They never wanted to come downstairs and eat in the communal courtyard because it wasn't a welcoming place prior to the project that we had at Zenith. And it's them little day-to-day interactions where you can see the positive impacts in real time. Another example as well is I mentioned the poor soil quality we had at Zenith Close. It was depleted, and I noticed in heavy rainfall especially, we would get quite a bit of runoff in the communal courtyard, and that in turn would be traipsed through the communal lobbies, and I was constantly chasing cleaners to go in after residents trying to clear it up. And since we've improved the soil health and we've added loads of plants on site, I've really seen a reduction in that in heavy rain, which is great.
Great, that's really good. Thanks, Harry. I wondered as well, what kind of feedback you'd had from residents about these improvements.
It's a visual, bold statement, the social value we've had at Zenith, and it shows that we care. It's allowed us to reset relations with some of the residents what historically have felt like we haven't served them. And it's now a visual statement. It's easier to demonstrate that we're making changes on site rather than just give them words.
Yeah. Adam, I wondered from the contractor's perspective, the same question I asked Jason earlier, like, what benefits do you see from working with your clients on these social value projects like the one at Zenith?
Well, I think for us, social value has always been an important part of our business. So in order to sort of to work closely with our clients and our residents, doing a social value project like Zenith is very important to us. And so when we were asked to do it, we were just really excited to get involved in it. And obviously there's a multitude of different ways that it benefits the residents of Zenith, and not only the residents but also the staff that we get to do the projects as well. So for them, getting together as a group of people, of friends, to carry out this project, it was great for not only for their sort of like mental health, but also for staff engagement. So that was a positive on our side, but also it was great, for the residents to be able to sort of have somewhere outside, as Harry was saying, to be able to sort of like interact with the wildlife, and just generally having kind of green spaces. I think is a positive, and is going to be beneficial for London as a whole going forward.
And why specifically is biodiversity something that your team care about?
I think for biodiversity, naturally, as grounds maintenance, a contractor, I think biodiversity is key to our role, basically. It's creating sort of lovely, visible, areas for residents to be able to enjoy, really. Not only that, but also help protect the environment for the future. Obviously having green trees, for example, that will take on combat some of the climate change that we've been seeing happening over the past few years. So it's all a positive thing as far as I can see.
Great. And is there anything specifically around taking that more local approach that makes a difference in regards to biodiversity?
The local approach is every site is different, so we always start by looking at what the environment needs, whether it's a plant that thrives, whether it's a wildlife that's already there, how the residents use the space, and items such as that. So when you take the approach like that, the landscape is not only better for the biodiversity, but also easier to maintain and more meaningful for the people that live there. And when residents understand that certain plant or features were chosen, they feel a little bit more connected to space. That connection helps with the biodiversity efforts. It makes them last as well. As Dave turned around and said, it's the correct things to do on the estate at the correct time of year, for whether it's complementary planting or choosing species that, as Dave said, that will have succession flowering. Everything brings in a different way of looking at things. So, and every garden is different. From a small courtyard garden you may have in the back of just off of Hammersmith Broadway there, to a very big garden you may have running along the side of the A40, for example, which has a very different footprint. And so everything needs to be done locally as well, because every garden is different. That's the best way of looking to apply a local approach to biodiversity.
Yeah.
Can I just add, I think if we look at biodiversity on a local level, the thing worth remembering as well, and I guess Tom and David can correct me if I'm wrong, the pollution levels, the biodiversity elements in terms of the natural habitat we're trying to grow and enhance in that area changes from neighborhood to neighborhood, borough to borough. So when we take that localized approach, it allows us to understand what's needed in that environment in that moment in time, and how we can grow specifically those elements that are lacking in that space in that moment. So that's why I think biodiversity on a local approach matters so much. And then if we think about organically growing, it's not just our environments we're looking to organically grow, it's ourselves, so our own wellness. And if we're planting around things like helping our wellness grow, then actually that means the impact it's having in that community enhances as well. So I know often biodiversity is very much looked at in that organic plant-based scenario, but I think it's also starting to shift in our mental and physical wellness as well. And that thought process gets enhanced through our planning with our residents.
Completely agree, Raj. I think it shows, that we're taking a long-term view, and that we're caring about the places which, we're looking after. And, we're not doing things simply. And as Jason said, each place is different, and taking care to notice those differences and to not make them cookie cutter or identikit places on repeat, which, there is a risk of that happening when you've got a really large organisation like Notting Hill Genesis, 65,000 homes across a large swathe of London and the southeast. It can happen when we have really large contracts that they don't take care to specifically understand the idiosyncrasies of each individual garden. Maybe Tom or David, you could talk to us a little bit about that, about our approach with our contract, estate management contracts.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to jump in. So we've got, obviously, as you say, there's one sort of single specification that they operate from, but the expectation is that each contractor takes a different approach to the individual site, making sure factoring in its individual needs. So yeah, I think adopting a more local approach is absolutely imperative.
I wondered, Tom or even David possibly, how do you see social value specifically contributing to that and NHG's future sustainability plans?
Well, going forward, social value is going to play a massive part, and we need to try and get our residents engaged in their own space. That some of these spaces are probably over the years historically have not been very welcoming, and we want the community to feel like it's theirs, it's their community garden. It's not just a green space that we do mow, blow and go on. We want, like going back to the local delivery, not one size fits all. So we want dedicated gardeners that know what they're doing, so they can enhance and benefit the site, but also with the resident engagement, that they'll start to take pride in where they live, and they'll help contribute to maintaining these spaces. And there will be residents that we have that physically can't go outside, and all they've got is that view out their window. So why shouldn't we try to make that view the best view possible for some of our residents that can't enjoy these spaces? And then, because we're trying to do the right things and not over manage with old horticultural practices like blow, mow and go, it will naturally help the biodiversity in the environment. And then we've got long-term goals of limiting and reducing and eradicating all chemical uses and going to more natural aids that will help these plants, rather than let's put a load of artificial chemicals down to either weed kill or to help these plants grow. It's just trying to think differently to what was done 10, 20 years ago and going back to more traditional natural methods.
Jason, would you be able to share any of your experience working on a recent project with Notting Hill Genesis that's had like a strong social value impact?
Yeah, of course. There's one particular project that springs to mind, which is Garrett Close over in Ealing, W5. We worked on with NHG on the onset there, based on some feedback from the residents that they felt, some areas were a bit tired. There was a lack of seasonal spring colour. Some areas, such as the large lawn, wasn't used very much. So we designed a little bit of it with adding some colourful pollinator-friendly planting and created areas where people could really enjoy.
Yeah, I was going to say, so our very own Mandy Worster, our volunteer program manager, led that project at Garrett Close, and I know that it was a great success. And Mandy's going to talk about that a bit more from NHG's perspective.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Garrett Close, which is in Ealing, which I believe you touched on a little bit. It's one of our leasehold estates, and it used to have a manor house in the centre of it, which was the land of where all the blocks of flats are now. But there remains a woodland that surrounds it, which has tree preservation orders on all the trees. So it's very old. It's some of those trees are maybe 200-300 years old. So it's worth preserving. And it's been a project that's gone on for about a year, and we've consulted with residents, worked quite closely all the way through, brought them on the journey and communicated as much as we possibly can with them about what we were planning to do and the different things that we've had on offer down there. So the first thing we did was ask people what they wanted to see different, and I think communication was one of those things. So we've kind of continued to kind of converse with people living down there and improve that side of things. So the engagement projects that we did are really kind of around collaborating across many different areas. So we worked with Ginkgo, who had the knowledge and the arboriculture knowledge about the trees, and we worked with Access, who provided some social value funding and also brought some volunteers down. So last year we planted like 2,500 bulbs, which came up in the spring and looked really incredible. We planted 6 new fruit trees, replacing some of the ones that had been felled. And in 2026, in the summer of 2026, we will be leading a workshop with the children living on the estate to make some nature signage, which will be kind of educational. And so what's for me has been really interesting about the project has been the collaboration with all the different stakeholders across NHG itself and all the different departments, bringing in graphic designers, working with the grounds team, working with housing management, working resident engagement and involvement teams, and really collaborating. So, although I've led on the project, I wouldn't have really been able to do it without those people coming in. So another thing that's been really great has just been the way that all the contractors have come together. So Ginkgo, we worked quite closely with them around the sort of educational stuff that was going to be on the signage, and we will be bringing some artists in from Bow Arts to deliver a creative workshop in the summer, and those designs will then be worked up by a graphic designer, and we've been given a discounted rate for the sign to be built and installed by Lavistar. So all round, it's been something that hasn't been able to be achieved without just one person. So a big element of this obviously is the social value. Without that funding, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this. But for me, a big takeaway from this has been the engagement with residents and trying to change mindsets about us as an organisation. I think following through on discussions and things that you've promised is really, really key. And being visible and being down on the site and chatting to people and just building relationships has been a key part of this. So the project will finalise next year. It's not quite finished yet, but it's well on its way. It's just the final piece of the jigsaw, which will be some signage and some more clearer pathways through the woodland that will enable people to walk to the signs and see some really nice visuals in the woodland that give them the kids educational information about the kinds of trees that are down there, but also some information about the history of the site and the manor house that was there. So yeah, we're hoping the final outcome will be incredible.
Adam, I wondered if you could talk to us at all about any other social value projects that you've been involved with recently and the impact they've had for Just Us.
Yes, no, definitely. I mean, like, I think we had previously talked about Zenith Close and about how great we were to get, well, how great it's, well, how happy we were to get involved. But we do actually have a couple of different projects we are getting involved with. So in particular, this Christmas, we will be helping NHG deliver hampers to worthy causes. So that will be over a period of 2 days. We have also helped with grounds and a garden clearance earlier this year with for an NHG resident. One of the things that we are looking at doing in the future is also creating opportunities for NHG residents to get into work.
Going back to a little bit more on the sustainability side, I wondered, Tom, if you could talk to us about how NHG's estate services contribute to achieving our sustainability goals in your day-to-day operations.
Yeah, of course. So like estate services covers a variety of services. So you've got like the grounds maintenance and the tree management. Also got the cleaning services and also got pest control. But for this, going to be focusing on specifically the grounds maintenance and the trees. So yeah, we need to make sure that the estates are managed mindfully, because obviously if you think about grounds maintenance and the fact that we're going to be regularly cutting the grass, going to regularly cutting bushes and hedges and stuff, you might not actually think that it's going to have improvements to the biodiversity, and so you need to make sure that there's a mindful approach with this. So the first, as long as we're following mindful practices, it leads to biodiversity enhancement. So it can reduce by reducing the high intensity maintenance practices like regularly cutting the grass when it doesn't always need to be done and adopting a more as needed approach. It can help like lawns to thrive, encourage like wildflower growth, pollinator habitats, and also soil health using like trained contractors who actually have that good knowledge and understand like safe horticultural practice and have that level of experience and qualifications. Through like proper hedge and shrub bed maintenance, it can support nesting birds, insect habitats, and can also like prevent overgrowth that could harm like the biodiversity.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Tom. Well, thank you to all our panelists and everyone who joined today's discussion. I think we've seen how sustainability and biodiversity aren't just environmental goals, they're about creating healthier and happier communities. By integrating these biodiversity into housing developments, we can improve the air and water quality, support mental health, and help mitigate climate change. Social value, we've seen how social value is the key that can help make these ambitions real. Through collaboration with our contractors and our communities, we can deliver these projects that leave a lasting impact, greener estates, stronger relationships, and better places to live. As we look ahead, let's keep the momentum going. If you have any ideas for future projects, want to share best practice or explore partnerships, please reach out to the Social Value Leadership Group. Together we can ensure sustainability and social value remain at the heart of everything we do at Notting Hill Genesis. Thank you again for your time and commitment to this important work. Thanks, everyone.